first things you need to do when you're ready to go harvest your plants for the garden exhibit is to know what you have in the garden and to know what those plants should look like when you harvest the produce off of it. So right now we're looking at some peppers. We have bell peppers. We have some banana peppers. And then we also have some jalapeno peppers. And each one of those types of peppers have different requirements as to what they should look like when they're harvested. In the case of our bell peppers, they should be 3 to 5 inches in diameter, 3.5 to 5 inches in length. They should be green, firm, with a thick wall, smooth and not wrinkled. We're gonna measure it, and the diameter is just about 3 inches, and the length is about 3.5. So this one would be an ideal candidate in terms of size. It does have a little bit of discoloration, but if you were trying to get a third one or the right amount, this one would be a good candidate to use. Now you would want to harvest it and leave just a little bit of the tip, and then you'll want to clean it off real good with a moist cloth and make sure that you get all of the dirt that's splashed up on it from the recent rains. Now when it comes to our banana peppers, they should be 1 inch to 1.5 inch in diameter, 3 to 7 inches in length. They should be yellow to orange or red, firm, waxy, be tapered, and hot to sweet, which you can't really know the hot to sweet part without tasting them. So we'll go ahead and take a look at some of our banana peppers and see if we have any that are the correct length and diameter. So we'll look at this one right here. It meets the length requirement because it's just over 4 inches. And then as far as the diameter, get a good view here, it is about 1 inch in diameter. So this would be a good one. It's got a nice taper point to it. It's relatively straight. It's not too crooked. Doesn't have any big dips into it or anything. This guy right here still meets the length, but as far as the width or the diameter, it's almost a little short. And if we were going to harvest this one would not be the correct size to use because it's a little too small. We'd want to try to find the right amount that's the same size and length in this so that they've got uniformity, because that's real important. And then once you find the ones you want, you're going to want to harvest them right about here, leave a little bit of the tip of the stem. So we're now going to take a look at our jalapeno peppers, and they should be 1 inch to 1.5 inch in diameter, 2.5 to 3.5 inches in length. They should be a dark green color, firm, and tapered to a blunt point. So we'll take a closer look at them using our tape measure to see if they're the right length, or our ruler. So we're gonna come over here and look at them. Now see, we've got a few of them that's got a little bit of a discoloration. So we don't really want to pick those because we want those nice green points and green coloring. So here's one. This guy is just about 1 inch in diameter. We've got a nice blunt tip, and in length he's about 2.5, a little over 2.5 inches in length. So he's a little long, but he still fits our requirements. So that would be a good candidate for harvest, just like we did there. And then we want to clean it off and get it nice and find the right amount that's in uniform color and shape as this guy right here. Now we're going to look at our yellow squash. This would be either straight neck, crooked neck, and they're all considered summer squash. They should be 1.5 inches to 2.5 inches in diameter, and then a length of 5 inches to 7 inches. To exhibit, you want the skin to still be very tender, so you have to be very careful when you're touching it. And they should either be green, white, or yellow, depending on what variety they are. The ones we have here are yellow, so we'll take a closer look at them and see if the one we've seen is the correct length and diameter. So measuring it, for our diameter, we are probably close to almost 3 inches. So with our diameter, we really want it under 2.5. So this one's getting a little bit on the big size. And then for length, we are also well over it. We are about 9 inches. And we really want it only about 7 inches in length. So this one's past maturity. We really wouldn't want to harvest it for exhibit, but it's still usable at home for anything that you might want to do with it. So we'd want to find one that's a little bit younger than this to actually exhibit, and you have to be very gentle. This one's actually pretty good in terms of color and being pretty tender, and having really nice skin, because you can see you can easily touch it with your nail and get a scrape, and you want to avoid doing that because we don't want that on the exhibit. So these are ones you got to be extra careful when you go to clean up once you find one to harvest. If we were harvesting it, you'd want to leave a little bit of the stem and cut it right about here. We are now going to take a look at beans. Once again, there's several different varieties, so you need to know what ones you are going to harvest and use for your exhibit. We're going to look at green beans. And in the case of green beans, the pods should be 1/4 of an inch to 1/3 of an inch in diameter. And then it should be 4.5 to 8 inches in length. They need to be uniform, brittle, firm, free of strings, and the seeds not distinct in the pod. So you don't want them too filled out. So we've got a few different ones in here, and it can take you a while to find beans that are uniform and have enough of them to meet your requirement for the exhibit. So we'll take a look at measuring them. So this one right here is almost 5 inches long, and we want them to be 4.5 to 8. So this one's a good length. You can see there's not really very much distinction in the beans, so it's not too far gone or too far along. Here's another one. It's about 5.5 inches in length. And here's a third one that we're on measure. Once you straighten it out, it's about 5 inches in length. But here's the thing. If we're trying to get the uniformity, we've got 3 different beans here. And when you look at them, you've got straight, and really crooked. So unless we absolutely had to, we really wouldn't want to harvest that crooked one to be part of our uniform set. We'd want to try to stick to the ones that are uniform in length, diameter, and whether they're straight or not. So it can take a little while to find enough beans that really work for the exhibit. So we're now going to look at eggplant. And eggplant, you need to know whether you have a round or a long type. If you are harvesting a round one, it needs to be 3.5 to 5 inches in diameter. If it is a long type, then you want it to be 2 to 4 inches in diameter and 4 to 10 inches long. Now you want it to be uniform in terms of color, firm and dense, and you want to leave about 1/2 inch to 1 inch of the stem when you cut it. So we'll go ahead and look at our eggplant right here. And you can see we've had a recent rain, so it's making it so it's a little bit dirty, but you can easily clean that off for exhibit. So we're going to go ahead and measure it. So for diameter, it is a little over 1.5 inches, and we really want it to be 2 to 4. So this one's got a little bit more maturing it needs to do. And as far as the length, it's maybe about 5.5. So in length, it's right in their range that we could use, but it's still a little narrow. We've got another one over here that we can look at a little bit further over there. See if we can get him in the screen. So in terms of diameter, this one is a lot closer to 2. It's almost at 2 inches. And for diameter, we do want it to be 2. So this one's getting there on the diameter. Lengthwise, it is within the range on the lengths. So that would be one you might consider exhibiting. But if you harvest it, remember this one you need to be about 1/2 inch to 1 inch of the stem still left attached. So make sure you get that requirement met when you go to harvest it.
Hi, I have recently harvested a cabbage from my garden and I'm preparing it for the Putnam County Fair. In this case, you can see that I do have some leaf damage from bugs, but in general, it looks very, very clean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove some of these outer leaves. Now these are not the wrapper leaves, these are just the outer grow leaves. And we're just gonna clean it up so it looks pretty, like what you would buy in the grocery store. And I will take a knife and I will trim this end down, but for now I'm just gonna use it to hold onto my cabbage. So this is where I'm going right now. I still do have some leaves, so I would like to take at least one more leaf off. But from here, now I have the main head and 3 wrapper leaves. And there are still just a couple of holes in it, but it looks pretty good. Before I go to show it, I will take and I will trim this down so it's a little bit closer to the base, similar to what you would find in the grocery store. You want whatever you're showing to be considered market ready. I've harvested some cucumbers from my garden to show at the Putnam County Fair. Let's see how these compare to what would be considered market ready. This one here, if you look at it, it's got a curve to it. It's not a bad length. The end, though, has been slightly damaged when I pulled it off the vine. It is also showing lack of water and moisture and is starting to wrinkle. So I'm going to put this one off to the side. This one here is rather short. If you feel it, it's actually very squishy at this end. I probably harvested this too soon. You can definitely see all these wrinkles. This wouldn't be one that I'd want to show at the fair. These two, on the other hand, actually look pretty good. They're nice and straight. The coloration could be better. Still probably needed a little bit more growth. Does need to be cleaned up. There's still some dirt. I just pulled these out of the garden. You also want to make sure you look at this end, that you haven't damaged it. You haven't ripped, when you pulled the stem off the stem, that you haven't ripped it too far back and caused a gaping wound that will cause it to decay that much faster. This one here, probably I was a little too harsh with. So out of these two, I would definitely show this one. Now, per the book, I need to have 3 cucumbers slicing with seeds. So I need to see if I can find 2 more of these that look exactly like this to show at the fair.